Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Coast-to-Coast Combat Hour. I'm your host, Matthew Hawkins, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Ed Carbajal. Ed, what's going on, my man?
Nothing much. Mexico got a lot of love over the weekend, but I'd be remiss if I if I didn't say it was coming. Was it coming from a good place? Or maybe I should ask if it was coming from a good place because I feel like all we were just kind of all the victims of
Halo.
of the turf war in Vegas. So, but
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's the goodness of their heart. If they weren't making
mhm,
money, they certainly wouldn't be doing the events. But I don't know, man. Uh, I watched it, the
mhm.
Sphere, and I was actually kind of happy I didn't go because I don't think there was any way I was going to pay the price of that ticket and walk out there and think I got my money's worth. I really don't think it. I wasn't overwhelmed. The fact they
Mhm.
did like very little to almost nothing for all the prelims tells you why there was only 5 prelims, because they were only planning on really having a show for the main card. So why have 3 more fights on there? Um, I was not. For me, if I'm going to go to the Sphere, I'm going to go see a concert there. I'm going to go see the Eagles. I'm going to go see U2, where it's going to be 2 hours of nonstop music and nonstop video play.
Mhm.
I don't, getting little glimpses and little 30-second bumps of cool looking stuff's great,
Yeah.
but I
Well,
expected it to be like, I don't know, maybe my expectations were too high.
no. So I like that they tried doing something different. I don't think this was the place to do it, especially for why they did it, the reasons that they did it was supposed to be it was supposed to be about Mexican Independence Day, which was yesterday, not on Saturday, but everybody was doing it both across the street with Canelo and Berlanga, like that. That's just boxing's weekend, and it still is. I know the UFC thing. Dana White thinks he's taking that from he's trying to build up a thing where I mean it's I think it's cooler if it's all combat sports like it was. I don't think anyone needs to lay claim to it. So I thought that was cool that both went on. Watching from home, I think the coolest thing as a viewer, and I actually went to a bar because my setup in my living room. I got a small apartment, so I don't have all the bells and whistles that the broadcast folks, which I wrote a piece about on my MMA News. If you didn't read it, the stuff that we were supposed to notice at home from those things. The thing that I liked the most was the ring card girls and their outfit changes as the night progressed into the different cultural references to Mexico's like different points in history and what they're trying to do from Mexico from present to the future. I thought all that stuff was cool, but you're singing the same song. A lot of people are singing like everything else is. I'm pretty sure it was pretty. If you were there, you probably were in awe of it, especially if you've never been to the Sphere. That being said, the Sphere. I think I saw someone post like the design notes that the Sphere was never intended for live sports, and I think we saw that this weekend. Um, if any positives come after the fact, outside of everybody making money, the UFC says it was the highest gate ever for them. They broke their own gate record, but Dana White he looked exhausted and the post fight press conference. And I know he kept talking about the $20 million price tag, and the gate was only 22 million. So it's like,
Where just curiosity, where did
uh
that 20 million go?
yeah,
Nine minutes of or 10 minutes of Spear video costs $20 million.
mm,
You know what I mean? Like, you can go there and watch, like, isn't it like an hour long show or an hour and a half, 90-minute show just daily? I think to watch Under the Sea, or I mean,
mm,
that must have cost hundreds of millions of dollars to make. I
mm,
mean, maybe, but it seems like it was overpromised and underdelivered to me. There were some cool things. Some of the visuals were obviously cool. Obviously, if you were there, I'm sure you had some oh shit moments. Like,
mm,
this is awesome. You know, I don't. This is crazy kind of things. But you the tickets started at $3,000 when they first came out. That fight card wasn't more than a average pay per view. So if you spent $23,000, you're essentially spending $2,500 for
Hmm.
the video package. And it just didn't compute to me. It just didn't seem like there was that much extra. I mean, I would for that much what you were paying for. Plus, the view of the fights looked terrible. It looked like you were far as hell away, even in the decent, the good seats. Maybe again, that's just perspective on TV, which comes across, farther away on cameras and stuff. But um, it just didn't. If they do it again, great. If they don't, it doesn't affect me
I don't
either
see them
way.
doing it
I,
again. Yeah.
I mean, I just it yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Just the overall.
if they made money, I could see them doing it again. But I just don't. We'll never really know if they made money,
Yeah.
and it just it
Yeah,
didn't help that the fights ended up kind of sucking, right? Like that definitely didn't help the whole situation when you had the co-main and the main event
yeah.
go as possibly like that was the thing. Like when you're booking these fights, I don't know. If I'm booking that fight at the Sphere, I want my main event to be like Chandler Holloway. I want
Yeah.
something that's just going to blow the roof off the place.
Yeah.
And I don't think that last main event was ever going to have that real opportunity to happen.
No, I mean on paper. I mean when we had technical difficulties last week. Apologies for that, folks that were listening to it. But there was only two finishes on the card, and those you saw on the prelims. It was Ketlin Souza versus Yasmin Jargiri, a technical submission with a choke, which I missed that because I was in the bar watching the boxing, and when that happened, that's when Plant and McCumbee were their bout was happening. Which, if you didn't watch that on the Canelo Berlanga boxing, if you didn't watch that, of all the fights that were on there, that's the one you want to watch for the drama of a boxing match with the back and forth, with especially the way it started to the way it ended. That's definitely something. If you haven't watched it, check it out. And then the Bahamondes TKO in the first round. Um, when we did our picks, um, you know, I saw you and I both saw Dvalishvili winning the way that he won by decision. I didn't think he was going to make O'Malley, and I don't want to say he quit, but like between round 2 and 3, when he walked back to the corner, O'Malley looked like he was done, like he was just physically done and or exhausted, like he looked like he mentally quit, but he was still focused on the fight. And then the thing about it was, as much of a sniper as he is with his striking, it looked like he didn't find the hole in Marab's game up until that final round when he started throwing those front snap kicks to the midsection, which it was like too little, too late, because it looked like that was working, but he did it in the last 40 seconds of round 5.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, man. I mean, Dana White was critical of the co-main event, the way Valentina won, but I mean, what do you expect her to do? She's tried everything else. That was the most calculated plan.
There was no other choice
Yeah.
for Valentina.
Yeah.
She had to win the fight, and if that was the way she had to win it, she had to win it that way. If she goes out there and just throws bombs and gets knocked out by Grasso or gets dropped and then finished with a choke again, her career is essentially wrapped up. She's lost then at that point multiple times to the champion, and they had fought 3 times. So it was just going to be a division change time. It was going to be her going up to 135 or something like that. So I don't blame any of these people for winning the way that they have to win. But I do think the matchmakers need to take that into account, especially when you have ticket prices that are crazy expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, but
yeah, people that know the game knew like we were expecting what we got,
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure, like, other than maybe a finish, like, I think pretty much all of our picks for the entire main card were basically decisions, and that's what it turned out to be. I was surprised Ortega survived the first round, the first minute and a half, I guess I would say, against Lopez.
Yeah,
Lopez looked really
who
good.
I underestimated, by the way. I mean, I wasn't expecting that first round to go the way that it did.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where Ortega's at. Lopez just seemed like the young, hungry lion, and he went out there and hurt Ortega early. And at that point, I kind of like to see a finish or a little bit more of a killer instinct. But again, you've kind of done the damage needed to done to kind of win the fight, even in the first 90 seconds, as long as you kind of keep some pressure on and don't allow him to sub you. I was frustrated when he chased him down to the ground and stuff in that first round. It didn't make sense to me why. I mean, it's like people forget his nickname's T City, and that's for
Yeah,
Triangle City. Like
and
we're
he got the catch. I don't know how many times in that round
a
that you're
couple
talking about.
times. There was a couple
Yeah,
times you were
like
like,
2 3
"Wow,
times.
this is going to be some low IQ shit here if he gets
Yeah.
subbed with a triangle." With the way with that strategy, but he pulled it off. You know, fun event, cool visuals at times, but I was happy when it
Mhm.
was all said and done. I was happy I didn't drop more money than I could afford to go to this and
Yeah.
just to go because it wasn't it didn't I didn't feel like I missed out. I really
Yeah.
didn't.
No,
You know,
no, honestly, I'm not gonna lie. Like once the when Canelo, because again I was watching them both. When the Canelo bout got started, and the Ortega, I'm sorry, not I gotta bring up the result because the night that it went, I'm trying to remember both because I was watching them both. It
the
was
Canelo fight started right as the warm ups for Lopez Ortega was
yeah,
getting
yeah,
ready to
yeah.
go.
So that's when I was like, I said I'm gonna go home and watch the rest of this because, like you said, I was kind of like, as cool as it was, I was like, I got what I wanted after seeing it all on the high end TVs and stuff where I went to go watch it. But yeah, it wasn't anything that was gonna make me. I was fighting. I'm not gonna lie, I was fighting to stay up. I mean,
It
again
went
with the
incredibly
Valentine,
late. The pay per
yeah,
view. I mean, I it may be the latest running pay per view of all time.
mm-hmm.
I don't. I mean, it cleared 2 a.m. for you, didn't it? Or was
Yes,
right up against 2 a.m.
yeah,
Probably the post fight was at least at 2 a.m. in the morning for you.
oh yeah, yeah, no,
That's
100%.
crazy. I mean, I know the New York 205 event. When I was out there, I remember it running after 1 a.m. It would probably ran until
Yeah,
about 1:30 a.m. But I don't
yeah,
remember anything ever going that extra 30 minutes. Starting a main event after like the pay per view time even has expired, basically. When
mm-hmm.
you had a 3 hour window back in the day, I don't know if that obviously that doesn't exist anymore with ESPN Plus, but yeah, long pay per view, late into the night, and
Yeah.
you talk about watching the boxing man. I mean to interrupt you. Were you going to get into something about? You decided to go home and watch the.
Yeah, so because I really wanted to pay attention to the co-main and main event, since those were the two kind of like big fights on the card. And one thing I want to say, I mean, um, about Shevchenko, I mean, like again, Dana White being critical of her, I'm like, dude, she beat her the only way she could beat her, and even still, there were so many risks on the ground. Grasso threw up that inverted triangle. I think in round 1 or 2. That inverted triangle, I was getting shades of Liam McGarry in that fight because I was just like, as I'm watching it, I'm like, holy shit! If she would have had that sub, if because that was the tightest one she threw up, and she would have had that sub had she instead of tried to, when striking and grappling are mixed together, your mind is not flowing the way that my hobbyist ass is watching from home. But had she reached from the bottom and reached for the hand that was through, she threw the triangle up, the hand that was through. Like the way you make an inverted triangle tight is if you can reach and grab that far wrist. It's kind of like reaching down in your back pocket and pulling it up towards your butt. That's how you make the triangle as tight as it was if you did a normal triangle. And had she done that, that would have been Shevchenko would have been sleeping. But again, with everything else, I think she was almost stuck. Like, should I go for this arm that's closest to me, or should I reach for that? Should I pound away? Like, there was a lot of different things going on that was just like you could see there was so much going on in that fight, and Shevchenko seems to have calculated for all of it. I think it was the shade that both she and Marab are getting by these new fans. I'm just like, you guys, what are you watching MMA for? I saw somebody post, if you're watching, go watch Muay Thai or boxing. If all you want to see is them pound away at each other, then you're watching the wrong sport.
Yeah, it's always been that way. We talked about it last week. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
mentioned it where there might have to be a change because if too many fans get to the point
Mm-hmm.
where that's the attitude, then you lose the sporting aspect. If you want to have some form of a sport, you got to allow for fights like
Mhm.
that to happen. Listen, Dana White's probably disappointed for a couple reasons. A. O'Malley lost. It was kind of a dud main event in at the Sphere, so right off the bat he's kind of grumpy. His
Mhm.
really the only, okay, not the only because you had
Yeah.
Lopez, but Grasso was the headlining Mexican fighter from Tijuana,
Mhm.
and she loses in a boring fight, but dominated 5 rounds to none. Um, I can see why Dana was disappointed, but it's just how it goes.
Mhm.
Dana White hates you today, and then the next day he calls you the goat, and he's putting out promo videos of
Yeah.
propaganda to prop you up. I mean, next week Islam will be the pound for pound next
Yeah.
best. You know what I mean? Like it's just it's what he does. It's what he's done for 20 plus years now, and sometimes it sucks, and sometimes it's kind of funny, but I don't.
Yeah.
I don't. I'd be promoting my new champion. I'd be going, hey, Shevchenko's back. Wasn't the most
Yeah.
exciting performance, but we know that 99% of her fights are pretty damn exciting, and we look forward to her defending the title in the future, and
Yeah.
Grosso getting back on track and working her way back up to a title shot. I mean, it's really pretty simple where you don't have to bash your new champions or make them seem lesser than based off of the performance that you didn't like, but
Yeah.
fighters don't make the rules; they fight within the rules. And
Yeah.
and that's just what you got to do. So I don't
Oh,
know. I don't know.
I want to address this. Antoine saying what's up. He's asked, absolutely love the Spear. We got Mirab versus Umar next. I thought it was weird how, I mean, I know he was in his feelings, but I thought it was weird when that question came up in the in cage, like, afterwards he kind of didn't address it. And I know that's just Mirab being weird or the way he is. He seems to want Figueiredo more than Umar, but the fans seem to want Umar to be the next fight. I don't know if you caught wind of that or had the same thought that I did. I just thought it was odd.
I did kind of catch wind of it.
Mhm.
Uh, it all depends. I would think that the UFC would lean towards Figgy first, just
Mm-hmm.
because they tend to do that way because they'd rather have Figgy win and be the exciting guy. And you know, um, Umar is uberly talented, but has had a few you know
Yeah.
fights that don't weren't great or were extremely exciting. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that headlines anything. I don't think Umar versus Dashvili headlines any card. I think it'll likely be a co-main event if it
Mm-hmm.
happens. It'll be a co-main event in Saudi Arabia to Saryukian and Makhachev.
Mm-hmm.
But it, it keeps rolling. It keeps rolling. I mean, to me, the champion fights don't even, we
What
it doesn't
about
have. I don't know.
yeah? But I gotta ask you just because I mean I was even saying like what the fuck's I mean not even me but the commentary booth at the event Herb Dean doing the
I was
co-main
gonna ask you.
in the main
I was
event
gonna.
like what the what it's like
You don't have
he
to tell
woke
me.
up
I've been saying for a decade. I think
yeah
Herb Dean's the worst referee in MMA, and I get laughed at and told I'm crazy. But you know, I'm the one booing him at events while everybody else is cheering. Don't get it. I don't get it. I get he's been there forever. I get he's been in video games. But he just
no
seems
but
like
that
a
was some real odd behavior I thought in that
yeah. I mean, but it's not like he's the first one to tell guys to be active. I mean, again, your favorite referee, John McCarthy, was kind of notorious for clapping his hands and going, "Let's go, let's go, let's go," over and over again. I don't know. This was the first. It was nice to hear the announcers bring it up though, because
yeah
you really never do. It's
yeah
beyond like, "Hey, leave the fighters alone." They kind of broke into it. Like, why is he coaching
yeah
a fighter? And I had never really thought of it from that perspective. I always just thought it was a referee trying to create something that is not there, and being vocal. And it's only a couple referees in the history of, once they get to a level, they feel like they can just start talking to the
hmm
fighters and trying to turn the fight again. I don't know, maybe try to change or
yeah
affect
but
or
tell them to work when they're literally
like he's
Murat,
walking
Murat,
around the ring, like chasing him down. And he's like, you need to
like
work.
Marab doesn't lay down on people. Marab is always active. He's probably the most active grappler there is. Like if Marab is on top of you, he's not just laying pressure on you. He's grinding you. He's pounding away. He's moving you around or twisting you up. Like
On top of it, there's no rule that says he can't. If the referee wants to
yeah,
stand him up for not doing action, then just stand him up for not doing action. But don't sit there and tell the guy he needs to do something. There's no rule that says he needs to keep. You know what I mean? There's not.
Yeah.
I don't even know what the stand up rule is. I think it's just completely up to the referees essentially on what they consider to be, inactive, but inactivity. But I don't know. I'm not a big Herb Dean fan. I'm nothing against him personally. I just don't. I think he's had a lot of bad stuff. If I was a fighter, I wouldn't want him refereeing my fight. I'm sick of the 10,000 warnings. I mean, I should have multiple memories of Herb Dean taking points away from people since I've seen him referee 20,000 times in my life. And I just feel like that there's more like terrible stoppages on both sides, either incredibly late or like you didn't let that guy go another half a second, like that kind of, and not maybe some of it's fandom in me. I'm not gonna lie. Like there's been moments that maybe fighters I was rooting for, I was like, God damn, give him another half a second. You just let friggin'
Yeah.
CB Dalloway go into a coma. You get knocked out of a coma, get knocked into a coma 16 times in a fight, and didn't stop it. And now you're stopping a fight, and when the guy's on his shooting for a takedown. So I mean, I don't know, stuff like that. But I mean, I'm glad people like the Sphere. I shouldn't say I didn't like it. I'm sure it was cool. For what they were asking for prices, I was underwhelmed, and I was glad I didn't spend that money to do it.
You're not going to hear them say lesson learned. Like I think they know what they risked and the fact that they were able to still get the gate that they got, and those numbers. If you're looking at it, and I always think about it in terms of like movie budgets. When sorry, I didn't mean this comment after Herb Dean. Hardly had a parlay going. It's funny. I think I said that to somebody. Like I said, the Herb Dean act like he had money on that fight. But I think it's a lesson learned for them. One thing, them getting all this Hollywood money because they are owned by Endeavor, which is like a Hollywood company, powerhouse company. When they asked Dana White in the post-fight press conference, what are you taking away from this event moving forward for future events? And obviously the better quality video. He said something about the cameras. They used drones. I don't know if there was a shot you could see the drones that were moving, not just from the drones, but the drones moving above the cage. And that's something that it looks like they're going to keep doing moving forward, especially with doing less Apex shows while they're making it bigger and going on the road more. So I hope we see more stuff like that. So I don't think it's something to completely like wag a finger at. It looks like this experience is going to have them, because I mean they've been doing the same shit, wash, rinse, repeat for so many years. It's not like it's the reason why guys like you and me liked what Bellator used to do. And I'm not talking about Bellator now. The PFL Bellator is fucking ass now, but Scott Coker's Bellator, the real Bellator, with the pride like entrance and
hell, Bjorn Rebney, yeah. I mean, obviously he brought the flair, but yeah, I'm glad that they got stuff from it. I'm glad people liked it. I'm glad it looked great at times. I liked it during the what was it, the co-main, or maybe it was the whole main card where they had the background during the fights. I don't think it was the whole main card. I feel like it was the last couple fights where they had like the village kind of behind them, and stuff like that. And that looked cool. But that's what I expected for the whole event. I don't understand why that couldn't even be like, why couldn't they have something for the prelims? Like again, like a prelim fighter fighting on the Sphere card didn't mean anything.
Yeah.
It meant you were looking at like scaffolding.
Scaffolding.
Like,
and red, Tommy Toholt said it looked like hell inside the Sphere because of all the red, and I thought that was funny.
So I don't know, but overall, I mean, I think they'd have to market a success.
Yeah. So we got UFC 309 official news out of it. What do you think we make it? You think that card holds together with
Jones and Miocic,
and then Chandler and Oliveira? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we wind up seeing a main event of Chandler and Oliveira in Madison Square Garden November.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I probably would if I had to make a bet. That would probably be it. I don't know. But see, Jones could show up at like 50% and still win that fight. Like I'm not. It just doesn't. I wanted to see that fight 5-6 years ago, and now I don't even. I mean, Stipe is so inactive. They're so inactive that it's like, I don't know. It just doesn't even fly on my radar
It's
right now.
like a PFL super fight.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's
I
like
mean,
Francis Ngannou and Fajeda, because they, like, when was the last time they fought? Now it's like, okay, at the beginning of the year, Fajeda fought, and then
yeah,
now,
but at
yeah,
least like I don't think Stipe's won a fight in like what 4 years, 5 years.
yeah.
Like I don't, it's been a while. So I don't know. I just man, if that fight goes down and the cage door closed and they're both in the cage, I'm gonna have a moment of like, okay, let's go.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't like the Jones Act. I've never been a Jones. I don't like the Dana White hype now. I don't think it's necessary. I think Jones' record kind of speaks for itself on its own. I don't think you have to be such a writer about everything. I to me, like if you have to defend it so much, like maybe you're working too hard. I mean, like
Hmm.
I don't. And then his reasoning is always back and forth. I mean, I know he's a promoter, so things are going to change. He's never going to ever promote anybody outside the organization, or he's never going to promote. He's never going to admit that anything he's ever done is wrong. I mean,
Hmm.
he's made every fight in the world except one, and but you can always name more. I mean, it's like I don't know. It just I don't know. I like the Oliveira Chandler fight rematch. I
Yeah.
guess that's cool. I'm glad to see Chandler finally moving on. Because he, again, I'm gonna be negative about everything. I loved Michael Chandler. At this point, I'm kind of sick of the guy. I'm not. I mean, I'm not. I'm just gonna be honest. And he hasn't even been
Why?
around because I listen when they announced the Ultimate Fighter show, whenever that was, 2 years ago now.
Yeah, yeah.
When we did this podcast, I said on that episode, there is not a fight announcement for this fight. I do not believe Conor McGregor is ever coming back. And we said it for weeks on weeks and weeks. We said Chandler, I said it, he's hot as hell right now. Even though he
Hmm.
lost fights, he's hot as hell. He's going to let it burn. Go back. There's got to be 20 minutes of me talking about how Chandler's wasted his time over the last 2 years. And now it's like, okay, cool. Like you're moving on now, but what did you, bro? Like you haven't won a
Well,
ton of fights in the UFC.
yeah,
I love you, bro. You've had great fights. Bellator, you were the go to Bellator. But right now, like you're kind of washed in my mind. And especially if you go out there and lose to Oliveira again. Like if you
yeah.
lose to Oliveira, your career's over. And you just threw away the chance to make so much money and get so much fame.
Well, I
And at a
mean,
time when I
I,
don't know,
I,
man.
I still cheer for Chandler,
I'm not
and
saying I'm
I
not going
want
to cheer
him.
for him, but it's been a grind, man. Like
Yeah, no,
seeing
it's
guys
been a
sit out
grind,
and wait for
but that's the
stuff,
thing.
and
We don't know what he's been put through. We don't know. We don't we don't know. Oh,
I
look at, we
know.
got we got a John Anik person. Sugar 113. He was raw. Anyone disagreeing doesn't understand MMA. I mean, I
Go,
don't
I
think he
guess
was
like
robbed.
I mean,
Yeah.
congratulations for being one of the 10% who understand MMA, man.
Yeah.
Um,
Anyway, so with Chandler though, like I was rooting for him to get this fight. I mean, I actually really like the matchup between him and Connor. However, I don't think we don't know everything that's going on. We don't know what's been going on behind the scenes with all the negotiations and stuff, and how long he's been dragged, and he's still, when you look at the company as a whole and the roster and everything, when they pulled him in as a Bellator guy, he's just, this is him doing whatever he can do with this last part of his career. I actually feel bad for him because he, this would have been a good money fight for him, but I also know he's, the guy's an ultra competitor, and he doesn't want to wind up, retiring off of a loss. He wants to at least have a chance to come back and fight, and if he can avenge the loss against Oliveira, good for him. I mean, I don't blame him for taking the fight. I see what you're saying, but I
no,
mean,
I think it's I think at this point he had to take the fight.
yeah, yeah.
What's he going to turn down? I mean,
How about
there's
you can't wait for Connor forever? It's they got to move
yeah. I
past
mean,
Connor.
he's already,
Connor's
but
not coming back.
he should have given up. I mean, he should have given up at the beginning of the year when they didn't fight last November. It should have been decided that I'm moving on. I've already been waiting a year. Like it just listen. I don't know. I have no. I do not think. I don't think Connor's toe was the reason he didn't fight in July. I think the dude is.
Hey, he was
Again,
dancing over here in New Jersey like two
we've
weeks
got.
ago.
There's footage of me going back years saying this. I think he's a drug addict and an alcoholic who can't get over it, and and that's just the bottom line. He can't not drink for a weekend in order to get out there
Yeah,
and
no,
fight.
the homie Fight Oracle literally just posted that like on Friday or Saturday
I
that
mean, I
he can't stay sober long enough for them for
to
him to get focused in the training camp, and
I
so
mean,
yeah.
and I mean, you see him, and he looks like he is out of his mind at the BKFC shows.
Mhm.
I mean, just, I
Yeah, I
mean,
saw that. I
he
did see that
basically
clip. Yeah.
he interrupted that interview the other night, and it was like, okay, you could even see Feldman was kind of like, wow, like
Yeah,
here's the, um, but
yeah.
I don't know. I just, again, I hope Chandler wins because I want to get that spark again to really be excited about him. I think him and
So
Makhachev is a good fight. I think he
yeah.
matches up well with that in theory with his base, with his U.S. wrestling base. But
Mhm.
I just don't. It seems so desperate to me. It seems instead of going out there and being like, I'm just going to keep winning fights, and when McGregor's
Mhm.
drunk ass gets back on this roster, I'm going to be the first in line to beat his ass.
I think
Instead of
everybody's just tired of waiting for McGregor, including Dana White and the powers that be at the UFC, Hunter Campbell, all those guys. They're probably just like, listen, this guy's never. And then when he addressed it at the BKFC press conference, it almost sounded like I
I
don't know.
think I get what you're saying. I
I
think it's a
just
combination of both. I think that the UFC has their negotiation for a new contract for broadcast rights coming up.
Mhm.
They can't have a drunk McGregor show up to fight and get waxed and
Yeah.
promote it. They need to hide him from this so that when Disney or Hulu or whoever the hell gives them $20 trillion.
Amazon, you saw Jeff Bezos with that
Yeah,
here,
see,
yeah.
once they get that Amazon money and it's already
I hope they
prepaid
could do
for,
Amazon.
then they can put McGregor out there and let him shit the bed and embarrass the company because at that point it won't matter. But right now you can't take a risk of it anymore. You have to get that money first because
Mhm.
it'll be a shit show.
Yeah.
I don't. I mean, I don't think he's. I don't. But I do think that the UFC is holding off. I think McGregor would fight next week. He might show up and fail 48 drug tests, but he'll fight next week,
Yeah.
especially if it means getting to that turkey money after 2 more fights. Because
Did you
that's
see
all.
he said he called him because Turkey was at the event. He was like, I called him to see if he could help me figure out what's going on. Like it's like, dude, you're the problem. Whatever it is, because when the fight was supposed to happen, your toe was broken, so you're the problem. Chandler's been ready to go for a long time. See
Yeah,
you
I
at the
mean,
top.
why wasn't there a why hasn't there been a photo in the last month and a half, 2 months from McGregor of his good toe going, I'm ready to go.
They're covered up in those alligator shoes, all tight and no
Yeah,
socks. And when
he's
he's
probably
dancing
still
at
yeah,
Chicky and Pete's here in New Jersey,
it still has the makeup on it. He hasn't removed it yet, but yeah, I don't know, man. I just but I like getting back to it. I like Oliveira. I think Oliveira's going to beat him. I know Chandler's a big favorite from what I saw early though. Unless it was a mem, I saw that he was like a
yeah,
minus
no,
240 or minus 280. I mean, at
I,
that I was going to drop some heavy. I mean, I don't have online gambling, but if I did, I would think Oliveira
yeah.
would be getting money left and right.
So, I mean, as far as that matchup goes, I feel like Chandler, because he's been sitting around, he's had time to kind of like recover and heal from all the damage he's taken from the fights that he's lost because he's fought in some wars. His time in the UFC has not been kind to him. I'm surprised that he's still. I think the time off and training for so much is probably good for him.
Possibly good for his body, but I don't know
Yeah,
if you coming back as at 2 years older is going
yeah,
to be better. He's in your late 30s. I don't know. It's a fight. I'm glad to see that as the co-main event. It adds to that card. I think the New York card will probably be exciting. Looks like they're adding some good fights
yeah.
to it. They've always
What's
done that.
today's
That's the
September 17th, so let's just coin it now. We're probably gonna get Oliveira Chandler main event.
oh
Just
god.
because it's John Jones is always iffy. It's New York, and a lot can happen, especially in the UFC between now and then with the way fights fall off the cards and stuff gets put back on. They can't pull Vegas stuff and do like middle of the day
Yeah.
changes and have people be ready and excited for it. Can't
Plus,
do that in New York.
October is also fire month, so Stipe may have to go to his day job at some point.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
I said it jokingly, but again, he's been firefighting or I don't know what he's been doing, but he hasn't been fighting. So
yeah.
I'm sure. Listen, last time I saw him was walking out to the cage for one of the pay-per-views, and he was walking like he was 65.
Oh, I think I saw a video of that. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
So maybe he had an injury, maybe he was recovering from some minor surgery or something like that. But he was
Wearing boots that don't fit him right or something.
but
Yeah.
it
I
didn't
know what
look
you're
good.
talking
He
about.
didn't he
Yeah.
didn't look like he was going to be doing the Ali Shuffle anytime
Hmm.
soon. Let's put it that way. But I don't know. I I'm curious to see who the 310 card is in December. Um, Especially, I was thinking it would be Tatiana versus Whaley, but
Yeah.
Tatiana got signed today to fight Gingeroba. Um, so I don't know where that leaves Whaley. Apparently, I didn't
Yeah.
just point it out that there's only been 3 women's title fights all year so far, and
Yeah.
um,
Composer, I
then
think, put that up.
it's just
Yeah.
which is pretty wild to think about it. You've got you got 3 women's divisions. The best are supposed to fight there 3 times a year, and you only had 3 title fights in 3 divisions all year long. So, um, I just, I don't know. It'd be interesting
A
to
head
get
scratcher. Yeah.
it'd be interesting to get a media guy to ask that question. What was
Oh,
the reason why you know what I mean?
yeah.
But we know, we know,
Yeah.
we know that won't happen. And if the
No, no.
person does
Now
ask
it's
that
people in front
question,
of him. Yeah.
it'll be the last time they ever get a chance to ask one.
Yeah.
What
Former
else? Well,
Mexican. That guy. Did you ever see that video? The guy that said, "Hello, Dana, former
oh,
Mexican."
former Mexican here.
And he was like, "How does that work?" So I don't know, but that's what I mean. That's what's welcome at the UFC events now. You get characters asking questions, and some of them get even $20,000 for their wedding if they just be for rubbing elbows the right way. But yeah,
Must be nice.
yeah, it is. It
Must
is.
be nice.
It is if you're getting the 20. Yeah,
It,
but
it seems like the people that get the money are the people who don't really need it either.
oh, of course.
you know, it's Tom Brady
Yeah.
getting the comp front row seat.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just whatever. It's paying your sponsors and giving back, I guess, to make sure they give you more money and
What's that line from George Carlin?
propagate for you.
It's a big club and we ain't in it.
There it is. There it is.
Yeah.
So that's it for UFC. You mentioned a little bit the Bellator, obviously.
Oh yeah.
They this past event was pretty weak.
I mean, I was a little
I don't even.
surprised that McCourt lost the way that she did in the first round at that London event. But I mean, it went under the radar obviously because they were going again. They're going on early, and they were going on the same day as a big UFC pay-per-view. But the thing that's not being talked about enough is that there's next month they were supposed to have an event in Chicago, and all of a sudden this Fajeda, this Saudi Arabia thing happens, and now, it looks like the Chicago Bellator card that, if you remember, they said they listed all their Bellator events that they were going to do when they did this Bellator acquisition thing. People saying it's a team up. No, they bought the name and they're using the name. And now it looks like the Chicago event's just not happening, and those the big name fighters that were supposed to be on that card. What's the fights they added? Johnny Eblin, Fabian Edwards, and then McKee and Jesus, I'm forgetting who he was.
And Hughes.
Yeah, they moved them to this Saudi Arabia card. So it's like, okay, you're literally treating the you're supposed to be the number 2 in the world, and you have the both names. You're doing pretty much what the UFC does. You're just making it one giant PFL card so you can sell this pay-per-view to people. And then Don Davis does an interview with the New York Post where he's saying that this Saudi Arabia card is going to be more expensive than what they did in the Sphere. I mean, not for nothing, brother. If that's the case, you ain't making no money off this thing.
Well, he won't make any money anyway. He might not be wrong. If you consider that Ngannou's making $10 million right off the bat, and the entire UFC roster for that fight night only made, I think, $3 million, then that you're starting to get there. If the UFC spent 20 on the Sphere and 3 on on their salaries. That's 23 million if you start with 10 with Ngannou and
I did see that Jake Paul was at the Sphere in costume.
costume.
Good for him.
Yeah,
Good for him. I'm glad he did that because it was a good
man.
costume too. He looked like it was like I wouldn't have known it was him. But yeah, yes.
Yeah. I don't even remember what I was
Oh, we
talking
were
about.
talking about
Oh,
Don
the
Davis and
the Don
yeah.
Davis thing. So yeah, they might be spending more, but then they're just going to lose so much money. I
And
don't
what
know.
do you get by saying that? That's the thing. Like what are you trying to say? Like not for nothing. The you're not drumming up the attention that you think you're getting. Like
No. I just wish that they would just. I wish PFL wouldn't even talk, and I wish that they would just have like viral videos letting me know when their events are coming on.
yeah.
I don't. Everything word that comes out of their mouth is ridiculous.
Well, I think the
From
executives need to stop talking. Like put your fighters out there more. I mean, do better jobs advertising your events and not your sponsors. You know what I mean? And again, I mean the people running the show over there. I know Don Davis is a founder. It's Don Davis, Peter Murray, Grace. You know, like you guys really need to get in the same room together or do a Zoom or something and get on the same page with about okay, we're moving forward here. You know, like it looks like a really bad like like a really badly run office, you know. Like,
yeah, I mean, listen, I don't.
and I hate to say because I liked the PFL when they first came out.
Do you know anybody who's going to buy that pay per view?
No.
Not watch it. Do you know anybody who's going to buy it?
Dude, I barely know people that know about it
There you
though.
go. There you go. There won't be a
I mean,
single person
outside
I
of
know
hardcores like
that
us, yeah,
yeah, nobody is gonna call me about how to watch it or where it's on or any of that stuff. So uh,
yeah.
speaking of where it's on, another topic here: BKFC dealing getting into bed with the zone.
Mm.
Jesus Christ. And it's more. Hey, listen, if it brings better events, then great. If it brings money in, great. But I just feel like the zone is just the promotion killer.
Yeah, I agree 100% there. I mean, if I don't know how they make deals with anyone anymore that's not Eddie Hearn, but it's like it's like don't expect them to promote your shit because if you follow what they did with Bellator, that's for me that's the example. That's the best example anyway. Well, they at the same time they had KSW. People hardly even knew. I think they still have KSW. I have no idea, but I mean, you wouldn't know it by any of their social listening that the guy. I mean, the videos on this YouTube channel where I spoke with the guy that was in charge back then. I don't even think he's around anymore. Then they had some freaking One Direction looking dude. I think he was running the show for a little while, and he looked like he was half asleep the last time Bellator had him in the Viacom building to talk about any of their distribution rights. So it's like, and the thing that's supposed to be a pay-per-view killer is now selling pay-per-views. It's like the whole thing is a mess.
Yep. Yeah, I don't. It's a mess. That's all it is. I don't know though. But again, if BKFC is young enough in the business that maybe it'll help. If it helps bring a couple mega shows and helps them to sign some more guys and get something going, then great. But I just don't see where the fight fan is in for another subscription. I just I don't know. I mean the app they have is great and the price is really good. I mean I feel like they could even boost that up a little bit and still put those shows on it and most people probably would be okay with it going from $7.99 to $9.99. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? But asking me to get I mean the subscription to the zone was always nuts. I don't know if they've changed their subscription pattern, but it was really
The
expensive.
initial inception when they had Bellator there, that I remember even Daniel, my friend over at the Last Round podcast, even he was like, "It's a good deal if you're a boxing guy, it's a great deal. If you just pay, it's like the way he talked about it was the way you talk about the BKFC app.
Uh-huh.
Like you pay the one fee and you get to watch everything. That's great if it's working out for them. But if they start throwing, if they start throwing throwing price tags at you and taking shit away, then it's like, what the fuck did I sign up for?
Yeah.
But
That's true. Yeah, especially when you have a year-long subscription or
yeah, exactly.
you know.
Antoine's asking a good question. It's almost. I feel like everyone forgot about 307 after this weekend. But Antoine Willis asks, "How do you guys feel about UFC 307 as we move on to the next pay per view?" I mean, it's still a ways off. What's that?
I
October
gotta
4th.
look. I don't even remember what 307 is off the top of my head.
That's Pajeda Roundtree.
Oh, okay. So yeah, Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
Pahea by manslaughter in the first round.
With that shovel hook that he throws on everybody's chin, that seems to be his magic punch, man.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, we'll make picks down the line. I do think it's a decent card. I look forward to seeing Kyla Harrison compete again. And
yeah,
I think she's badly, badly needed right now in the women's divisions. I mean, we talked about them only on 3 title fights. I think they need an injection of something that could potentially be exciting, and she needs to know that too. And in her performances, she needs to, she's got elbows now. Let's see her. Let's see her utilize them. Let's see some.
If you saw her use them in Invicta,
you know
or not Invicta, where'd she use it? I forget.
Titan?
Was it Invicta?
Titan or Invicta, maybe one of the two.
One of the two, because one got canceled the night of. But yeah, she did get to use them, and her elbows are freaking like railroad spikes raining down on you if you saw that fight. But so yeah, no, like you said, she's definitely. I agree with you 100% there. Somebody tossed around the idea on social. It was on Twitter. They said, I mean, to see Shevchenko and Kayla Harrison would be a really nice fight if they could do like like some sort of catch weight or something. You know, like I'd like to. That's so you want to get some eyeballs, people tuning in and hype people up for a fight. That would be a really good fight. Kayla Harrison and Shevchenko.
I think it'd be fun down the line. I feel like Kayla Harrison might be too big for Shevchenko. I mean, we weren't even sure she could make 135, and now we want, if she fights at 125, I think that she could have a size advantage that could lead to a wrestling advantage that could really tilt it towards her. But I mean, I'd watch it. It'd be a super fight. I'd like to see it a few fights down the line. I'd like to see these people need to reestablish these divisions. We need to and see what happens. One thing about 307 that I don't get is Jose Aldo on the prelims. And Wonder Boy on the prelims for that matter, but Jose Aldo specifically, like I mean, he's opening up the prelim card. I don't even know how you reason that. I mean, if John, it'd be the equivalent of John Jones. Yeah, I know, but
I know Buckley put that video out there that they got pushed to prelims, but we're still a few weeks out. UFC cards can change on the fly, day of. So let's wait and see. I mean,
it's true. It's true. But as it stands right now, I think it's a little bit embarrassing to have him on the prelims. I don't see why you would, again, not want to. We talk about GOATs, right? Like he's right there in the talk of.
Unless he wants to go early, like maybe they're just giving him.
Maybe.
Like,
You're right. We've said that in the past about other things. So anyway, so this Friday there isn't Invicta. Saturday for boxing fans is Joshua Dubois. And for our homeboy out in Pittsburgh, we got Brawl in the Berg is also available online. So there is some MMA and some fights to catch.
247 Fighting Championship. I think that's his first event in a while too, because they've been having some slowdowns with them trying to get their little Pittsburgh Apex going out there.
Nice. But that's available. There's also a BYB card. Bunch of stuff. Check out grabakahitman.com. Check out Kaposa's thing, and he can give you the schedule of where and how to watch everything. But I think that's going to wrap us up for the week. Fans can check out the show at Combat Hour on Twitter, Coast-to-Coast Combat Hour on Instagram. Follow me, Matthew Hawkins, at MMA Hawk 21 on Twitter and Instagram. Follow Ed at Carbazol on Twitter, Carbeerzol on Instagram, and Old Head Carb on Twitch. Thanks for the questions and comments, everyone, and have a good night.
Peace.